Rudy Gomez. I was actually born in Toledo, Ohio, and then grew up as a Florida native for a good number of years. The Final Fantasy Ball was actually created back in 2002 from an idea. The idea was to basically gather a bunch of individuals who loved the series so much and educate others who actually weren't familiar with it. It's actually an ongoing legacy of creating interactive moments and interaction with Final Fantasy characters, with our guests that actually come to the event. So it's very meaningful every year, and we like to make sure that it stays that way. But for the most part, the Final Fantasy Ball is a lot of fun. The way that we actually come up with the Final Fantasy Ball stories every year is taking from not only the games themselves, but also creating it with a little bit of what we've been through in our experiences in life. Challenges that we have during practices are not so much based on what the show actually evolves into. It's our surroundings, because we have volunteers that come out. Everybody who comes out for the Final Fantasy Ball, or FFB in short, they're volunteers. They come out and they give their hard-earned money, their hard-earned time, and they give up a lot during this event. And one of our major things that we always run into is the fact that we practice outside.
In the Final Fantasy Ball, I have both been a cast member on stage as well as a costume seamstress for the characters in the show. Oftentimes the people who are actually cast as the characters are the ones who actually make their costumes, but in the past there have been a lot of people who will commission a costume from a seamstress on cast or possibly buy their costume online.
The process of auditions for the Final Fantasy Ball and ShadoCon in general, it's kind of lengthy. We have a couple different stations set up: acting, dance, fighting, but the process goes even further than that. We had to go through and sort through everybody who auditions. We have not only our staff, we have other staff talking and debating what role best fits them, because we're all working together. We don't want to have, well, I think he's better for this role, or she could really do this better, he's not available on these weekends.
When we actually create the Final Fantasy Ball, the first and foremost thing that we think about is our audience. How can we engulf them into our fantasy? But more so is, how can we create something interactive that they actually feel a part of the event? A lot of the time they come to the event and it's a formal dance. They come dressed up in a costume, a cosplay, or really nice attire. So we have our characters interact with them on the floor and pull them into simple dances. Now at other points, we have specific interactive dances that are actually intertwined with popular music themes. Such as, if I could use one for example last year that we used, which is the Cotton Eye Joe. A lot of people didn't know the Cotton Eye Joe, so our characters actually taught the actual patrons to come and dance, and by the time you see the dance evolve, you have close to 300 to 400 to 500 people on the floor in one swift motion doing the actual dance. And for everybody to have a fun time and interact not only with the characters but with each other, it's a life-changing experience for them.
I think the most difficult part is learning how to take your love for a show, for a game, and learning how to incorporate it with other people. To work with these people and turn it into something that is not only going to be special for you, but that's going to be special for everybody. Because in the end, Final Fantasy Ball isn't about how you feel. It's about how everyone feels at the end, and you have to keep those feelings in mind.
Every year should have some form of emotional and sentimental value that makes it different and special. That's why these games, I believe, were created. They hint on every emotion that we as humans have evolved to have. So therefore, it's not making it better than last, because anybody that actually tries to do that, you're going to run yourself into the ground at some point. You're not going to be able to keep up with yourself, and you're going to stumble and you're going to fall.
If it wasn't for the community, we wouldn't be doing this, because the fans are truly the heart and soul of this event. I mean, how many times have you played a Final Fantasy game and said, man, you get so involved in those characters, and when people come out to see us, I mean, we just want people to see the show and have a good time, and the community is really the backbone to it.
I could never see myself doing anything else. The Final Fantasy Ball has very much become a part of my life. 9 months out of the year, I'm waiting for it to come back around so that I can spend those 3 precious months with people I care about. And it is something that's crazy and fun, and just, it takes everything that you've been wanting in your life and throws it all together in a span of 3 months.
And when I got back into it and I got to be a part of it, just as anybody who would come to the ball, it really hit me in the chest. It really hit me hard, because I was getting to see something that brought me and all my true friends together to bring me and unite me with a bunch of new people who had the same passion, and I really, a lot of it had faded away, and this brought all the love back to me for playing the games.
It's being out at practices and seeing people, you know, cry, sweat, and bleed sometimes for the work that goes into this. Seeing them day of convention, running around and interacting with the patrons before the event, trying to sell them the event to come to it because they've had such a fun time creating it. Simply talking to people passing in the hallways, even online. There was one young lady who came all the way from Canada just to see the event, and the interaction that they bring us just for simple thank you for doing your role, or the hugs, the smiles, the handshakes, the appreciation, that is what makes this event worth it. So we never, by the end of it, we think it's worth doing, and the entire time from beginning of year to end.